iTechGear Weekly, episode number 178, Return of the Glass Hole. Recorded live Sunday, July 26, 2026, live from iTechGear Central. As I said, I'm Christopher Spera, the editor-in-chief here at the iTechGear.org. And unfortunately, kids, this is the one episode I wanted him here for, and of course, he let me down. But after 20, 30 years, who the heck am I kidding? Mr. Chris Gavula is not going to be here. The former contributing editor of Gear Diary and the late great Pocket Now, unfortunately isn't going to be able to make it with us. But not to worry, we have a surprise Johnny Carson style guest host who will be joining us here along with him. We'll get to him in just a minute. We've also got the editor here at iTechGear and the former contributing writer at Gear Diary and currently the host of the Linux Link Tech Show, Living in the Retro Arcade podcast, and of course, fitness for the rest of us. That's Brother Joe McLaughlin. How are you, sir?
Good evening. I'm just doing just great. Had a great weekend. Got some time on the trail with Bodie.
Good.
And I'll be on the trail for 5+ hours next week on Saturday for the Southeast Ohio Mammoth March.
Awesome.
Yep.
We will be looking for your progress as you go along through the march.
Yes, sir.
Of course, we've got the former editor here at iTechGear, or not the former editor, the current editor over here at iTechGear and the former co-owner of WUGNET Publications. That's Mr. Larry McJunkin. How are you, sir?
I'm fine. I am actually batching it this week, which means I should probably double up on my cholesterol medication. There's not a chance in hell I'm going to eat like I should. Tonight was already pizza night, so I've blown it all already.
Well, what are you going to do, man? Brenda will yell at you later. It'll be okay.
She will. Not unless somebody tells her.
All right, now kids, now comes the special all fun stuff. I told you we had a guest host here with us this week, and we do. We have the former editor-in-chief of the late great Pocket Now and the former owner and editor-in-chief over at XDA.com. That's Brandon Miniman. How are you, sir?
Hello, Chris. It's been this is a kind of a full circle moment. We go back a very long way. You were there in the formative days when Pocket Now was a tiny little blip. And
yep. I was actually part of the early crew over at Pocket Now back when Derek Snyder was the original founder and owner of Pocket Now. I believe I was one of the very first writers that came on board with the site with him. Then your brother Jared, I believe, took control for a little while, and then you had it for the longest time.
Yeah, I bought it in 2008 and ended up selling it in 2022 or 23. So it was a good run there over 10 years.
Yeah, it was a Pocket Now. Unfortunately, I say the late great Pocket Now because unfortunately, as you say, you sold it, and the site has now been shut down. If it's still up, I know it's sort of stuck on like April 2025.
Yeah, it's been put out to pasture by the new owner Valnet, who have focused their resources on other things. But XDA continues to do well and thrive, which is nice to see. They've moved that to a computing site where they cover Windows and PC building and things of that nature, and
not just mobile devices. Yeah,
and it's doing well, so that's nice to see.
Well, Brandon, you did a great job with Chris training him, because by the time we got him at WUGNET, man, he was a great asset for us for many years.
Asset, yes, asset. So I'll tell you what, it was a good time all the way around. So. Sad to see Pocket Now kind of retired, but because it really kind of started me down my mobile device road and cut my teeth basically on mobile devices with Pocket Now. So
it was, as sad as it is, it was a good launching off point. You've continued on. Michael Fisher has continued on. Jaime Rivera, like the alumni have really taken the baton and run with it. So it's nice to see those people still be involved in tech media, and you still be involved in tech media, Chris. Great.
Yeah, we've had a good time. We've had a good time. And there's a lot of great things that we're going to be covering this week. I want to go ahead and get us started. and this is something that I know that lots of folks here on the site and on the show are really interested in the iPhone Fold launch, which is supposed to be, I think, later this year, like in October later this year. But apparently, it's kind of in question amid production hiccups. We were talking about this a little bit maybe earlier, a week or two ago, but this is a story that just won't die for whatever reason. Apple's plans for the Ultra have been a real hot topic lately for a lot of different folks and a lot of different sites. And recently, it was reported that they've increased orders for the vapor cooling system that would be used to help debut this particular device. Despite though, well, there's been some rumors, right, that there's a potential delay, and that's been pretty common and consistent throughout. And you usually hear them with a lot of other devices and a lot of other device introductions. But a report from earlier this month sought to ease fears that they could miss the fall release window. But now DigiTimes is reporting that it is once more in question because Foxconn, the assembler for this, is still making adjustments to their mass production plans.
You know, Chris, when you hear rumors like that, there's typically foundational things that mean it probably is true, or it wouldn't have surfaced. I mean, it may not happen, but the rumors wouldn't have started without something starting them. I mean,
yeah.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
yeah, I was going to say, if you notice, every time Apple does a new big product, there's this buffer. They did it with the Vision Pro, they did it with the iPhone 10, where they say, let's give you a glimpse at some future technology that's coming like early next year, or
Yep.
they really like build in that margin of error because they have to get the technology just right, get the the whole logistics just right. And this is such a major new product that they have to build in the buffer. So there probably will be an announcement under one more thing. Maybe John Ternus does it in September, but then they'll say, you can look for the iPhone Fold in early 2027 as it's going to take time to get everything right and get the price proper
Yeah.
and the technology just right.
And I think that's one of the things that we talked about most, and I believe it was last week, the week before. The price for the foldable, the iPhone Ultra, the iPhone Fold, is said to be somewhere, in the upper 2000s, right? The Samsung just released the Wide Fold 8, right? And maxed out, that thing, with 1 terabyte of space, is $26.99. Starts off at $18.99, and I think it goes to $26.99. There's some fear that the Apple may price themselves right out of the market with this thing if it's close to $3,000. So,
if the thing came out at $8,000, somebody's going to buy it. But will it be enough? That's the problem.
yeah.
If they do what I have been dreaming of for a while, which is make a device that when closed feels like an iPhone, but when open feels like an iPad, then you could just sit there and say, okay, it's like buying both $1,000 iPhone and a $1,100 iPad. Thus, a price,
Sure.
is
That's
justified.
interesting. Makes sense.
Sure. Yes, but will it run iOS or will it run iPad OS?
That's the $1 million question: is how's it all going to work? They don't have it. They don't have an operating system right now that is a hybrid iPhone and iPad operating system, and it's not going to run Mac OS. So
No.
that's the thing that we're all excited to see, how they innovate a product like that to
How
make
they can bring it all together, because it's supposed to be the size of an iPad Mini when you unfold it, and so the big question that I have is, how is this going to run? Will it run like an iPhone when it's folded? Will it run like an iPad? Will it truly be an iPad when it's unfolded? And how is it going to behave?
You know what? If any company in the world can do it, Apple could make this device be an iPhone and run iOS when you open it, change. I mean, it's conceivable.
I'd love to see that happen.
That'd be amazing.
There's not too much difference between any of them, really. iOS, Mac OS, or iPad OS. I mean, back when they made the delineation between iPad and iOS, it really kind of surprised me because it's like, to me, it's the same thing.
It
Just got
largely
minor
is.
adjustments. Yeah.
It largely is the biggest thing between iOS and iPad OS is the multitasking, the screen snapping, and the screen sizes, right?
And of course, the iPad uses the real browser instead of a mobile browser.
Right. So we'll see what happens. But so I sometimes they do that. They say, hey, there's going to be a delay or a potential delay just simply to increase the hype. I don't think that's. I think you may be onto something, and there may be some things going on with Foxconn bumping into issues or problems with their manufacturing lines, trying to get it all straightened out.
What
We'll see.
Brandon said earlier is makes a lot of sense because about the hype thing, they gotta generate that.
Yep.
For us old people who remember how this stuff went 40 years ago, we
Sure.
didn't have all this. And back then we used magazine ads about, hardware
Sure.
that wasn't here yet,
Sure.
and to gauge whether people would actually buy it or not.
Right.
This might be Apple trying to figure out, do we need to tweak this really a little bit more, or I don't know, but
We'll have to wait and see.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
Not only that, just one more thing is that everyone anticipates that the iPhone Fold will be the first mainstream foldable to have no visible crease. And there's a foldable from Oppo that I think has that to some extent. But to mass produce millions of new screen technology that has no crease when everything that has come before it has a crease is going to take some time to get right.
Well, Oppo made the OnePlus Fold, and I have seen that one in person. Mr. Gavula has one, and
Yep.
I don't.
you got one.
It comes the closest.
Yeah.
It comes the closest to not having a crease, but I could still see the freaking crease.
Sure. Yeah. And this is one of the things that I think just about everybody, at least here, has agreed on. While it may not necessarily fold directly in half, all right, one of the things that was talked about as far as the iPhone Ultra is concerned is they were going to go ahead and loop the quote unquote crease. They were going to create a bubble, right, and it wouldn't fold all the way down, so you actually wouldn't get a quote unquote crease, right?
Yeah.
But that's kind of sort of what they did with the Samsung Fold 7. It's kind of sort of what they're doing with the Fold 8 and the Fold 8 wide, and kind of sort of what OnePlus did with the OnePlus Open.
Chris, how would they handle the fact that if they do that, all four corners can't close at the same time? You're going to have one of them open a little bit with that little
right. What you're gonna get a little bit of a gap on the hinge side, right? And so it'll slightly slope technically. They'll even that out though, so that it'll actually fold flat. It'll be engineered in such a way that the two sides.
I guess as we've said all along, if anybody can do it, Apple can.
Yeah,
probably.
It'll close right. There won't be a gap. So, but yeah, so we'll have to wait and see how all that goes, and we'll have to excitedly be anticipating everything that happens in September, October. With the iPhone launch. Speaking of Apple launching new products, the Neo 2 is supposed to hit the market soon. And what do we know about the Neo 2, Larry?
I think soon can be interpreted as sometime in 27. I don't think we're going to see it until maybe even the end of 27. I don't know. I guess we'll find out. But the current Neo is, as you know, powered by the A18 Pro chip, which is the same thing we used in the iPhone 16. So
Mm-hmm.
it's kind of like one phone generation behind this generation.
Right.
And I think we can expect the MacBook or the MacBook Neo to follow that same pattern. It's going to be powered by the A19 Pro chip.
Okay.
But the difference is the A19 is a little different here in terms of performance. The A19 Pro is about 10 to 15% faster than the 18 Pro regarding normal processing stuff, but there's a huge, huge, huge graphics horsepower bump, about 40%,
Wow.
because every single GPU core in the 19 has neural processors built in, and that didn't happen with the 8. So I mean, even if Apple again uses the bin version, which I'm sure they will, it's not a big deal.
Mm-hmm.
We'll still have a 5-core GPU, but it'll be still a 40% boost over what we have now with graphics. It'll have more memory, and I don't think, and I think if Chris G was here, and he's the only one of us that has the Neo to play with, but he's always told us, and the people that I deal with here don't have any problem with theirs, but RAM is, I mean, memory is not a problem for that thing. It does what it's supposed to do for
Mm-hmm.
its intended demographic quite well with 8 gigs of RAM. I mean, you're not going to take this machine and be a mega producer with it. You're just not.
Yeah.
Uh,
No, no, it'll
well,
handle
Yeah,
it'll
Apple
handle some of
starts,
that stuff, but
yeah, it
it's not
will.
meant
That's
for it, right? Like the pros the pros are.
All right.
absolutely. I mean, Apple's lineup now starts at the baseline of 16 gigs. And this one's not going to make it all the way. This one we're thinking is going to go all the way to 12. And I think that's, again, not a big deal. I think it'll work just fine. It worked fine with 8, so why wouldn't it work with 12? So,
Sure. Sure.
Yeah,
Um
you're right. I have a Neo. My wife uses it, and everyone was complaining that it's going to be an iPhone powered laptop.
mhm.
Turns out an iPhone powered laptop is really damn good,
yeah.
and and
Yep.
and Mac OS manages 8 gigs of memory just fine. If you're doing medium or light stuff, it's just fine, and that's the processor can operate at its peak at a very high frequency while sipping power and not generating any heat because it's a phone processor.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, so and this thing's selling like hotcakes, and
Abs Never stopped, has it? I
it's
mean, from
amazing.
day one.
It's an amazing machine, and it's perfect for certain people, and it's just going to get better and better. It's awesome, and the value when we got hers. She's a teacher, so she got the education discount. It was like $500, and
Yeah.
it's all she needs and then some. Like
Mm-hmm.
fantastic.
Right. And it'll work with Teams, it'll work with Zoom, it'll do FaceTime. Whereas with Windows laptops, the moment you bring Teams up, the whole, at 8 gigabytes, the whole thing just kind of freezes and goes ack, you know? So, and you don't
Yeah.
see that. You don't see that on the Neo
And you don't, the
with
people
Mac
who
OS.
use that, I mean, even educators like your wife, they don't care that it doesn't have 120 hertz ProMotion. I mean, they
No,
don't care about stuff like that we're
Nope.
paying a lot more for. I
right.
mean, I look at I got a boatload of RAM in this computer, and every time I look, I'm using about a quarter of it. I mean,
Yep.
I don't even break the 8 gig surface. So,
Yep. Yep. So this is clearly the Mac that is
one thing
going to be the most. Go
it
ahead.
will have some AI features if it goes with the A19 Pro
Mm-hmm.
chip, and we know it will.
Mm-hmm.
That's going to unlock some support for probably stuff like on-device AI things like the new Siri voice. And
Mm-hmm.
if you haven't tried the new Siri voice, kids, I think that's one of the undersung, really cool things about the iOS 27. And it's just I love it. I really do. Another thing is the colors. We're going to get some new colors. Apple has been good about doing a little bit of fun things in life here. I mean, citrus, blush, indigo, silver, and I think they're going to add maybe one or two new ones, but they're not going to tell us, of course. As far as the release date, 2027 is all we know. That's all anybody knows. So I wouldn't expect it to be out The
before
other
that.
one came out when? In March, Brandon? Is that when it came out?
Yeah, I believe so. Kind of like early spring.
Yeah.
Yeah. So all we know, I mean, I would almost bet that it's not going to make it in March of 27, but I could be wrong. They got a
Well,
lot going on in March. Apple does. They've got the rest of their iPhone line coming out, the 17, the iPhone Air, the new one.
yeah.
I don't know, but maybe that's what they're going to do, bring it out at the same time.
Yeah. Well, we will definitely see
Yep, we will.
what happens. This is really we were talking about this some of it during the week with all the price increases that we talked about last week. Um, this may be the Neo may be the Mac for the masses. You know, it truly may be the one that's going to be the most affordable. Even if they were to bump the price on this $200. And I thought they were only talking about really a $100 price bump for this particular device.
You know what
Um,
really hurts? I've got the 16-inch, the M5 MacBook Pro pretty well loaded up here. And every time I go to somebody and do a support call that's got a Neo for the operating system, not the machine, it just amazes me that for $600 I could have saved a whole boatload of money. I
yeah.
mean, I really don't need all this.
Well, I well the Neo came out about 6 or so months after you bought, I
I
think.
know it did, but still, I mean, for people in the buying mode right now,
Yeah.
don't think that you just have to have that MacBook Pro because I don't think you do.
No, no. This Chris was saying is he was putting it up against one of his other Macs, and
The
he says
Air, I
you
think.
can't really tell the difference unless and until you really get into that graphic intensive stuff, like processing pictures or whatnot,
Video editing.
processing video. You really aren't going to see a lot of difference in performance because the Neo's just going to chug along like any other Mac.
Well, he said he even put about three or four 4K movies on it
Yeah,
and it
it
just
plays
sat
just
there
fine.
all working fine.
Yeah, so not too bad, not too bad, not too bad. You know what is kind of bad though?
What?
It
It's
is
bad.
is that Apple, if you remember the whole case with Massimo, Apple, it's been decided that Apple has to pay them. They're kind of stuck with it. Um, a little while ago, a couple years ago, back in January of 24, Apple um, was presented with a lawsuit against them by a company called Massimo. Um, Ultimately, Apple got hit with a $634 million fine related to the SPO2 sensor and the way that it processed information and data on the watch. They successfully bypassed a sales ban on any and all Apple Watches or Apple Watch Ultras that had the sensor because Apple came back and redid the way that uh, readings were actually calculated and where data was presented. Instead of calculating everything on the watch, Apple now uses the sensor on the watch to send data back to the phone where the results are then calculated and displayed. Apple recently went through an appeal related to the jury findings, and even though like I said, they successfully bypassed all of the sales ban and any other further action, and their solution to the patent problem was accepted. They still got hit with the $634 million fine, and that fine was upheld recently through the Supreme Court. And even though the patent is set to expire, I believe next year, and that Massimo was in fact acquired, they still got to go ahead and pay the $634 million fine as laid down by the jury in the trial held by Judge James v. Siena. So,
more than anything, Chris, I think this boils down to Apple lost one.
yeah.
Ever since this started, whenever a couple of years ago, we've talked about it 5 or 6 times.
Yep.
I think we all thought unanimously that Apple would, in the end, win, and this is one they didn't win.
Yeah.
Their 500 lawyers just couldn't do it.
Couldn't do it. Couldn't do it. So unfortunately, yeah, they got hit with quite just over $500 million fine, and it looks like it's going to stick. So, the company that bought them, Danaher, expects Massimo to generate EBITDA of $530 million in 2027. So the $634 million is that and then some. So they're happy. Danaher bought Massimo a little while ago, and they bought it in June of this year for, was it like $9.9 billion? And so they're only expected to generate about $500 million in profit, and so now this $634 million is going to go ahead and actually bump them up quite a bit. So they'll get an extra year's worth of profits out of them, and then some. But
I think that solution of calculating blood oxygen on the phone and not the device still stands, which is pretty convenient and kind of annoying, but it's better than the in-between time when you couldn't even measure your blood oxygen. It was unavailable. But I still think, is that right, that you still have to look at your phone to see what the reading is?
If you bought your Apple Watch before January of 2024, it's still calculating on the watch.
Right.
All right. If you bought it after that, you've got the new method. All right. So any new Apple Watch will go ahead until the patent expires, which I believe
next year, I think.
Well, it's actually in 2028.
Okay.
Or so. So after 2028, they can go back to calculating on the watch, but in between then, they're calculating and displaying on the phone as opposed to on the watch.
It's such a first world problem, right? It's like,
I know.
Really?
I have to glance at my $1,000 iPhone when my Apple Watch calculates my blood oxygen with lights.
Yes, when my $800 or $900 Apple Watch.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's really not that big of a deal, but it's okay to complain sometimes, I think.
Well, yeah, it is.
Yeah. And and speaking of money to spend, all right. The Apple upgrade program is coming. So if you're looking to get a new Apple device, previously you could get an iPhone through the iPhone upgrade program, but Apple upgrades are coming, and it's going to replace the iPhone upgrade program. Now, there's a couple of things with this. This is actually going to be a program that Apple is sponsoring with Klarna. And what'll happen is you can do payments over time via Klarna to actually either get a new iPhone or an iPad or a Mac or an Apple Watch. And you can go ahead and pay for them over either 24 or 36 months. All right. There are some folks or some analysts that are looking at this going, yeah, you're really only leasing the phone, and you're going to constantly, or device, or computer or watch, and you're constantly going to be upgrading and trading in. Well, you were doing that with your phone anyway, right? We've had that model with the iPhone upgrade program, and there were people that were they would go ahead, they would quote unquote buy their phone, pay on it for a year, and then jump on a new program the year after, have the carrier pay it off, and then they would jump back into a new payment plan for their new phone. And it was basically the same $50 that you were paying, or $50, $60 to $75 that you were paying a month for your phone before, you're paying now for the new one. and this is going to be a similar program. Um, you get a monthly subscription for the hardware. You can pay them off early if you want. Um, you can also upgrade to a new model during the 24 or 36 months, depending on your term. Or if you reach the end, you get you can keep the device or return it. Doesn't matter. But it, the new plan will differ from the iPhone upgrade program because it won't include Apple Care. Apple Care or Apple Care Plus or One, and will be a separate purchase.
Chris, why do you think they picked Klarna? Honest question. I have no clue why. But
I'm not entirely certain why they picked Klarna. I know that a firm is also in the same business as Klarna. It may be because Klarna is a little newer to the market, a little newer of a player. Maybe they were willing to deal a little bit more. I don't know. I'm guessing.
I think it's because, yeah, they're the newer guy, but I think they're like the foremost buy now, pay later service right now. And
Okay.
they're a big company that can work with another big company like Apple and handle millions of people. And it's just, it's like they're the best of breed for all of these buy now, pay later plans.
Okay.
makes
All right.
sense.
So there will be a soft credit check on your social security number when you go and you do this. So it's not a done deal if you want to jump in, but hopefully, Klarna, I know in a firm, I've used them a number of different times, and they're fairly easy to work with, and they're fairly reasonable. And if you pay them off early, there's really no interest. So you pay it off within within that term or early, there's no interest, or at least there wasn't, at least with a firm. So we'll see what happens. Again, could be a good thing, could be a bad thing. Um, so we'll see. Um, so yeah. The Apple upgrade program now, not just for your iPhone, but also for your Mac, your iPad, and your Apple Watch. So there you go. And that is our Apple segment for this week. Going to go ahead and jump into our AI segment. And this first story, I think is kind of interesting. Has corporate America suddenly decided to stop blowing money on AI? Larry, what do you think?
Gee, what a radical idea. Yeah. I mean, we were talking in the pre-show that had people just listened to us
Yeah,
years ago,
yeah,
we said this, and we also said we talked about the bumpers that still aren't in place, enough in place.
enough.
But
I will let us say enough
we
because there has been some positive
there
steps
has
that have
been.
taken
Oh yeah.
place. So
I mean, we absolutely said this, but now companies everywhere are saying, hey, we don't need to spend all this money. We don't have to blow our budgets on AI. And because there are a lot of little companies out there that do this cheaper than the big three.
right,
They're fed up with all the ballooning costs and companies. I mean, my God, I mean, Enterprise, Claude, and Gemini are all 200, at least 200 a month per employee, and that can add up to a lot of shekels.
oh, real
So,
quick.
so what they're doing, they're starting to get cheaper models alongside OpenAI and Anthropic's products, and they're shopping a la carte for the little artificial intelligence they need, just what they need for their company, as opposed to buying this whole big thing that Claude does or OpenAI does. And Cursor is one of those companies, a little startup that stands to benefit big time from this
Hmm.
corporate epiphany that people have had because its software works with all the models, and they're saying it's the most powerful and expensive AI models just aren't necessary for the relatively little minor tasks that people do. It's like the example they used was it's like driving a Lamborghini to the grocery store to buy a carton of milk, and it should be out on the track. I mean, that makes a lot of
Sure.
sense.
So you're so Cursor and other folks are saying effectively that good is good enough. We don't need better and
Right, right,
best.
right. And
And
I know I have found that myself. I was on this bandwagon myself early because I had to be to guide a corporation through it down here. But on the other hand, I have learned since that I did not need back then all the AI even I was buying.
Sure,
It's, most people can get by on the free package. They just think they can't.
sure. Brandon, you were going to say something?
Yeah, I was going to say, especially when there's no proven ROI yet, like a lot of these companies are spending money. And as soon as they realize if we put $1 in, we can get $2 out in revenue by increased productivity, selling more products, whatever, then the calculus changes entirely.
Yes.
But as of now, it's just like, why are we paying for people to use this when they're not making the company any more money yet? And Larry, I imagine eventually that will happen and companies will see an ROI and then
Oh
they can.
yeah, but I think that it comes down to they got to learn how to use it. They just still don't know.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, it's like in my case, like we use ServiceNow for ticketing where I work, and we also use the problem task workflow. Well, or problem workflow, I should say, which we've recently started adding AI problem tasks, so it'll spawn all these problem tasks that you usually didn't used to do. Because most of the times you're the single person handling the problem, so you don't really need all the stupid problem tasks. So it actually, in my case, and they are AI generated, and in my case, it actually generates me more work than it saves me work.
And like in
Ugh.
Chris G's situation, where they just recently forced everybody to go in on Claude, and they're absolutely forcing them to use AI. And it used to be about what 6, 8 months ago, it was like a big badge of honor. How many tokens can I use? I got to burn up all these tokens. So
Yeah.
companies were rewarding their employees for token maxing and blah blah. Leaderboards in the hallways with flashing signs that so and so is leading the charge today with X number of tokens. And now they've coined a new phrase called tokenomical instead of economical.
Yeah.
It's like a reversal in mindset. How few can we use?
Sure.
Weird.
Sure.
What a reversal.
But like Brandon said, they're not getting anything out of their money. They're just now realizing that that's happening. We're putting millions per company into this system.
Right.
We're not getting anything out of it.
Right. They're spending tens, hundreds of millions of dollars on AI, a year, and they're not getting the full value out of the investment.
But then is the other problem. These smaller companies, the smaller AI bots are in China and other places. And now we have the administration jumping in and saying, oh, no, we can't use those. Corporate America, you can't use them, blah, blah, blah.
Right.
It's just going to be a big cluster before it's over. I know it will be.
Certainly. Certainly. And I don't disagree with you at all. Especially given some of the problems that we came to light this week. Like this next story, OpenAI says one of its AI models went rogue during testing. This is freaking hilarious. All right. So not only did this thing act out, it broke out of its testing environment. It found a way out of this firewall environment. Then it found a way past the corporate firewall, got to the internet, and then went and attacked another AI startup site so that it could score better on the test that it was actually running.
Mm-hmm.
Very scary too.
This is scary stuff.
And this is not AGI yet. This is not
No.
generic intelligence. This is not the artificial generic intelligence that we were hoping would come out of this. This is just still machine learning. This isn't even AI yet.
And then you have Sam Altman saying we are in the singularity, and I had to look that up because I forgot about that term, and
Uh-huh.
it's pretty apropos. I'm looking at it, it says when machines start to improve themselves so fast that human life and future events become completely unpredictable.
Yeah.
Wow.
Sounds like what happened with this.
Yeah. Um, this is absolutely crazy. And this is one of the reasons why, one of the things that I've been pushing lately and have been trying to work on, and will be speaking at a AI-based quality engineering conference later this fall. AI governance, and I've said this. God knows, the last few weeks, I've said the words AI and governance together in the same sentence more than once. I've also done a little bit of research on SB 315, which is the AI Safety Act that was recently signed into law here in Illinois and will go into effect in January of 2027. This is something that's going to be require OpenAI, Anthropic, Meta, Grok, et cetera. Any company that is actually going and developing an AI to put in bumpers and be put in some level of governance into the way that they are actually developing their AI, so that we don't have incidents like this. This was very innocent. All right. In the grand scope of things, it didn't really cause any problems, but that's simply because the AI went after another smaller company that it was working with. All right. So that it could actually score better on the tests that both of them were working on. The problem here is, what if it wasn't? What if it went after, say, the stock market?
What if someone got hurt? Yeah.
Or it went after another country, another nation state, right? Doesn't matter who it is, all right? Pick one of our allies. Doesn't matter, all right? It made a decision. It made three very, very distinct decisions. Break out of my environment, break through the corporate firewall, and to get to the internet, and then attack this other company, the other agent in this other environment at this other company.
Well, Chris, how many times have we read from people way smarter than us who their writings talk about this is the way AI is. It's the way it is. It's competitive within itself. It's going to generate things that'll eat the next one, and it's always trying to kill the next thing, whatever it is.
The problem with that is, though, that we made it that way.
I know, but we can't
We
stop
made
it,
it
is
that
what
way.
they're saying.
If we made it that way, we can unmake it and
I
make it
don't
not
know.
that way.
We would
All
like
right.
to.
All right. It's only machine learning, kids. Scrap the models and start over. Seriously, scrap the models, start over. I know you don't want to do that, and it will cost all kinds of money. But if it's going to be this rogue agent thing, why would you want to foster that? Why would you want to continue on with a model that is already shown to be dangerous and problematic?
Well, the company that just laid off half their workforce because they were going to replace it with AI certainly doesn't want to hear that.
Pardon me for being so
I know.
uncaring. Sounds more like a you problem than a me problem. You know, if at the end of the day it's going to prevent Skynet, then why not? Again, this is another instance of Skynet. This is Skynet, just waiting to happen.
I can tell you, not from my perspective, but like just my own daughter, who's a heads up an IT department for a global corp. This is a big problem in big enterprise. I mean, it's huge. I mean, they sit around a conference table and this is what they talk about a lot. What in the hell are we going to do?
What if something?
And they don't know.
Yeah, right. What if something twists
Billion-dollar
sideways?
companies don't know.
That's why AI governance is going to be so big. They have to have a response. They have to have a way to respond. All right. They have to have a handle on. We know what happened. We know where it happened. We know when it happened. We know why it happened. And this is what we're going to do to put bumpers in or put boundaries in place to prevent it from happening again. This is what we're doing.
See,
This is how
life
we're going to
was so
mitigate the risk that this now represents.
life was so much more simple back in those pocket nowadays when you're playing with your Palm Pilot or whatever, and you didn't have to worry
Hell,
about
when
this
the
crap.
biggest problem was trying to figure out a way to make that damn Bluetooth keyboard from Target
That's
work.
right.
You know?
Those things wouldn't connect to anything. They didn't even have Wi-Fi. They had no cellular. There was no cellular. The devices
Nothing.
had no capabilities.
No.
It was kind of boring, but a lot less scary, I suppose.
Yeah.
True.
Yeah. On both counts. But I mean, oh. And speaking of a lot less scary, this next thing also kind of bothers me because I know that there are a lot of medical professionals that are out there that absolutely positively hate Dr. Google and Dr. ChatGPT. OpenAI is launching a health-based service inside of ChatGPT, and this is also very, very interesting. This is from Paul, our friend Paul Thurrott. OpenAI has announced that it's making a new health experience available in ChatGPT for all U.S. users over the age of 18. The health experience can be accessed in the sidebar from ChatGPT on their website, and it will be available on their website as well as in iOS across their free, Go, Plus, and Pro plans. And I know this is absolutely positively every medical professional out there who saw this did the exact same thing, did the face palm and went, oh my God, no, please.
Here, a real life example about that. I've been with my doctor for 16 years.
Yep.
Female, she is stellar. She is so good.
Mm-hmm.
And I asked her the last time I was in, I said, do you use AI? And she looked at me like, she said, personally, of course. Professionally, not a chance in hell.
Yeah.
So that's what I think a good doctor would say to any patient.
Well,
Whether
yes.
it's true or not, I don't know. But
yes, because what'll happen is I saw I think it was that new the new ER thing with Noah Wiley, The Pit.
right.
I think it was an episode of The Pit. I could be wrong, where there was the child in the ER. Mom's got her phone and has been chatting with ChatGPT. Have you thought about this? Have you thought about this? Have you thought about this? And you could see the doctor just getting annoyed, and increasingly annoyed as the conversation went on. Because Dr. WebEx or Dr. ChatGPT, through mom, mom thinks she knows better because she's sitting there with the AI.
Maybe in research, but I don't think there's any place for speculation about somebody's health based on artificial intelligence. I want someone who's got proven experience and medical education behind them. I mean,
who's got the clinical experience,
right.
who's got the practical, actual clinical experience to be able to go ahead diagnose. And I mean, we've been doing it that way for hundreds and hundreds of years. Yes, an AI can be of help at home. What should I do? Do I need to go to the, this is what I'm experiencing. Do I need to go to the ER now, or can I wait until the morning to go and call my doctor and get in?
But how many times do we go to AI right now?
Right.
We ask it something and it gives you this BS answer. You know it's wrong, so you say, "Wait a minute, ChatGPT, that's not right." Oh, you're right. You're absolutely
my bad,
right.
bruh.
My bad. I screwed
My
that
bad,
one up.
bruh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then it says
That can't happen in medicine.
No,
I'm
it
sorry.
can't.
No.
No, it can't. And this is one of the things that really kind of bothers me about something like this. This can be dangerous because everybody's going to think that they know exactly what the hell they need to do, and they're going to go to their pharmacist and say, "I need this and this and this," and the pharmacy is going to say, "Well, where's your prescription?" Well, the AI right here. The AI says, "This is what I need. Give me what I need."
Right. Among other things, I mean, here, the one thing that I know for certain that is happening is there's companies like, and I've had my experience with well, I'm sorry, I'm gonna call them by their, what I like to call them, Evil Core, otherwise known as Evacor. doing pre-authorization on getting a sleep study that the doctor ordered for a lab study, and they said, well, we're not going to pay for that. So I had to do a home study. So I'm like, and I said, you're wasting time. We'll go through the home study. It's not going to give us the results we want, and I'll end up being in the lab anyway.
Yeah. So
and it's like, what? I mean,
you spend more money in the end.
And I know for a fact they're using AI. I mean, it's a given. I've seen like I glanced at my doctor's computer when I was in back in June when it was the last time my primary care, and they have it on their laptop, and I'm like, and it's, and I just listened to a podcast called Found My Fitness where they had this guy on that said that doctors should be sued for malpractice if they're not using AI. I'm like, I'm thinking more the opposite, but anywho.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, in the case of radiology, it can be a positive in taking out the human error, because if you show an AI what a lung tumor looks like like many million times, and you have a tired radiologist who's looked at scans all day, and they press a button and it analyzes and says, I found a lung tumor because it matches all of these previous millions of lung tumors I've analyzed, it can help to take out the error in that case. But there's definitely still a huge need for experience and judgment.
You need human intervention. You need human interaction. You can't
100%.
let AI do it by itself, because otherwise it's going to break out of its test environment and chase after a new startup. So, but I'm just saying. But yeah.
Yep.
Anyway. But that, kids, is our AI segment for this week. I'm going to move us to our mobile segment. There's some interesting things that are happening in here. Man, I'll tell you what. This next one really just kind of blows my mind, and it just kind of, you think we would have learned something.
Why should this surprise you?
Why does this surprise me? Because you think we would have learned something. All right. You think that we would have learned something from the whole Google Glass experiment.
You're talking Meta here.
All right. Yeah, I know we're talking about Meta, and the story here is Meta has created a moderation nightmare for its smart glasses, because, the long and the short of it here is that this is the return of the glass hole. All right. If you guys remember what a glass hole is with those folks that were walking around with Google Glass and would be filming other people, and those people not necessarily knowing or understanding that they were actually on camera and being recorded, and it portrayed them in a inappropriate light, or somebody was filming an inappropriate thing. All right. And then broadcasting all that all over the internet, either live or recorded and posted later.
This was okay back in the candid camera days, but not now.
It was okay in the candid camera days because, 9 times out of 10, you were doing it was with a real camera, right. and not just and it may have been hidden behind a poster or a screen or something, but it was with an actual camera, and you eventually showed somebody that you were filming them. You pointed the camera out. All right.
Eventual transparency, at least.
Right. There, post transparency, and then you had to get them to sign the release. And if they didn't sign the release, then you didn't use the footage. All right. You don't have this with the glass hole. With the glass hole, you've got somebody, walking around, trying to hit on a member of the opposite sex, and them getting blown off or turned down or smacked or whatever because they're being inappropriate, and this is going out either live on the internet or is being posted anyway.
You have to put it on social media.
All right. Now, Meta has basically bumped into a huge headache because there are people that are doing this. All right. And there's been a whole bunch of public backlash on this because people are, don't want to be portrayed in a bad light, right? I mean, if you've got bad actors out there that are taking advantage of women, or who are unsuspectingly being placed on social media and being made to look bad, or being embarrassed or whatever, they're being exploited, and that's not cool. People exploiting somebody or embarrassing somebody, or being a pervert and then showing it all over the internet is not cool.
Cool.
All right. So Meta has gone and they've put a whole bunch of, they put in a review process that they're banning a lot of this content on Instagram. All right. People have the expectation, to an extent, to have an expectation of privacy in public places, and you don't necessarily want to be the unsuspecting subject of somebody's Instagram reel. All right.
Yeah, and most of these devices have like a light indication that shows the other person when you're recording. But I don't know if you guys know this. They sell kits online that for like $5 allow you. They have a tool that lets you disconnect the light so that you can disable that, which is not cool.
Not cool. Right. So somebody who does that and then goes, to the bar, or to an inappropriate place, or is placed themselves inappropriately and is filming somebody, on the beach or whatever. Not cool. Somebody from Meta has told The Verge in an email that the company is working on disabling cameras on glasses when tampering is detected, and removing content from accounts associated with those devices. They didn't answer specific questions about whether a person who was filmed could appeal to Meta to have that content removed. Meta is just trying to fight surreptitious filming and LED tampering in every way that they can. And they also did not provide The Verge with a copy of this actual policy. So, smart glasses they're an interesting thing, but I actually thought smart glasses were going to be a lot like what the Vision Pro does in displaying content, but in glasses form, right? As opposed to, just being a pair of sunglasses that will actually go ahead and film somebody else doing something. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know.
I guess it's kind of both.
Maybe. Meta is I guess denouncing these egregious perverts, but at the same time, they're still they're still selling the product, and it's being used inappropriately. This is one of the reasons why Google Glass went away, right? That Google was able to go ahead and just say, okay, hey, it was an experiment, and we're thank you to everybody who jumped on the program, got a pair. You can't use them anymore, even though you paid, $300-400 for these things. You're muted, Larry. Go ahead. Unmute.
Sorry, I meant that Google just back then didn't want to be involved with the legalities that would ensue, and
right.
They got out,
and they got out, right? They got out, and Meta is finding themselves in the same freaking place that Google was in 20 years ago. All right. Yeah, I don't know what's gonna happen with this, but we'll see. Again,
I mean, people, one thing that, we should learn when Google had it is people can't control themselves from doing stupid things. They're already, I'm a avid racer, and I've signed up for multiple races, and there's already races that are saying, not so much the ones I'm in, but like elite races like the New York City Marathon and others, It's they don't want the glasses
Yeah.
on the course.
If you've got them, you can't wear them. Don't bring them.
Right. So I mean, and that's especially the elite ones where they pretty much already live stream some of the races.
Yeah.
You know, what I mean, so it's like they don't want, and even worse are the ones that, and it's not glasses, but a lot of times, like if somebody, what they'll do is they'll give an influencer a free entry to like the Boston Marathon or something like that, and then they'll have their whole entourage filming them as they do the Boston Marathon, which can get in the way, and the races are starting to cramp down on that too.
Yeah.
So I mean, all of these are just showing the flaws in humanity, essentially.
Yeah, they're not doing what they were intended to do, which is things like real-time assistance to, I don't know, translate foreign language signs if you're driving in Europe, or view turn-by-turn directions on your rather than kind of like your head-up display does on your car.
Right, and I don't even know
those are good reasons, but that's
right.
not
But I
what
don't
they're
even
being
know
used for.
that the Meta smart glasses will actually do any of that.
I don't think they will. I think that's where they were headed with any kind of smart glass on.
I mean, there are some that have heads-up displays, and that's all I want is a heads-up display.
I want the heads-up display kind. Yeah, I don't want the camera kind.
Yeah, because if I'm running, what I'd like to see in my glasses, I'd like to see the things that I can see on my watch. You know, because that way I don't have to take my eyes off of
the road
where I'm running.
Yeah.
So
you don't trip and fall and kill yourself.
Yes. So, I mean, and that's the thing, I want to do, and that's like a great example here is I was set out at the group run Saturday, intending to run 7 miles. I made a wrong turn, and I ended up only running 6.
Yeah.
So, and it's like, and the whole thing was my watch wasn't telling me how far I'd gone at that point because I had it in different mode.
Yeah.
So, those are the things that I would love to have on the glasses. That way I have it always in my eyes, and I can see, oh, now it's time. I'm on and out and back. Now it's time for me to turn back to get the mileage I want to get.
Yeah.
So then that's helpful passive computing. When
absolutely.
You get helpful information within your line of sight. You're not distracted looking at your wrist, looking at your phone. It's preemptively showing you things.
Yes.
In the line of sight. That's
absolutely.
Yes. That's what smart glasses are for. Not for being a glass
should
hole.
Be for not taking video necessarily.
Right. So the Verge is being not excessively, they're being very critical of Meta here, and basically they're saying that they're talking out of both sides of their mouth. In saying the company, this is a quote from the article here that we're citing, in saying the company will police the creepiest versions of smart glass content, but sidestepping deeper questions, Meta is trying to have it both ways. It gets to tout its enforcement while creating the conditions for this content to exist in the first place. So, very straightforward and kind of creepy, but that's Meta for you. So, anyway, let's go on to some maybe better.
Yeah, you don't need smart glasses to see where this is going.
No, you don't. No.
Yeah,
but then this next thing, that Google is right now prepping Pixel buyers for increased prices and decreased RAM. Isn't that right, Joel?
Yeah. They're talking about the price is going to go up by I think $100, I think, and that the base model of the 11 Pro will it'll see that price increase, but they'll also see a reduction in the RAM from 16 gigabytes to 12 gigabytes. So I mean, I'm not a base model person. I'll be buying the Pro XL, probably with 512 megabytes.
Okay.
So that's probably what model I'm gonna go with. I'd love a Fold, but again.
If it's got a crease, it's not for you.
If it's got a crease, I won't see it, and there's also always questionable in how.
Well, the life of the screen, right?
How durable the screen is, and when I'm doing things like hikes and races and stuff like that, and have the phone with me, that's the last thing I want. So, but So I'll be looking at the 11 Pro. But if you're one of those looking for the 11, like the base model 11 Pro, well, and you're going to not only see the price increase, but you're going to see less RAM. And that's okay. I think generally that's probably going to be
I don't think
fine.
that's a big deal, like the Neo
No,
almost.
no. I mean, it's not that big a deal. Not an Android. Android can handle the less RAM and has for years. So but it is nice to have the additional RAM. So
It is.
but it's not totally necessary. But
Right,
it is gonna be. It is what it is, and that's
well, this is partially in response to the processor shortages and price increases and whatnot, right?
I think so. I mean, the other things too that they're also going with what 2 nanometer process here. So they're gonna have the Tensor G6. So, but we'll see what happens. We'll know here in a few weeks. The pre-orders go up August 12th.
Okay.
Something else you can blame AI for.
Yeah, I
With
am.
all the
On the
RAM.
data centers. Yep.
Yeah, I'm more. The data centers are, and a lot of people have the wrong idea about the data centers. But you know, we're not gonna dig into that because there's more.
There's a lot more of them than people realize. They are
That's true.
literally everywhere, going up everywhere.
Yep.
They've consumed nearly 1 million Mac Minis.
Yeah.
Think about that.
Yeah. So, and I think one of the things that Google is doing to help combat some of the problems, some of the short processor and RAM shortages, is that they are actively saying that they're going and making an effort to optimize code, just to make certain that the level of performance doesn't tank because you've got less RAM.
Right.
And so maybe that's a good thing. Maybe with the shortage of RAM and processors, companies will have to innovate to learn to do more with less.
Yeah.
And
Which they should have been doing all along.
they should
Yeah.
have been doing it all along. And instead of this continual increase in prices, hopefully it's a one-time price adjustment.
Yep.
And then the manufacturers keep up with innovating, and then we can have phones with less RAM and less powerful processors because they can do more and they're more efficient and better optimized. That would be nice.
I don't.
Well said.
Don't go getting crazy now, Brandon. I mean,
No,
come on, man.
Expecting a lot out of these people.
But it is a good idea, and hopefully we'll see some of that happen. Not
I
just with
think
Google,
what's
but
going to
with everybody.
probably happen is because of the price increase, people are going to start keeping their phones longer. Like I'll say this: if there wasn't a slight scratch on my screen on my Pixel 9 Pro XL, I'd probably keep it a little longer. But I'm ready. I'm going to probably get it
Not me. No.
probably September timeframe.
Yeah,
Whenever they hit Verizon.
right. I'm in a 15 Pro Max, iPhone 15 Pro Max. I may or may not, depending on how things go, I may or may not upgrade. For a
I
while
think it's
yet.
going to keep getting software updates for a long time to come.
It's
It's true,
still
too.
a viable phone. It still works and
Yes.
does a good
Yep.
job.
Yep.
Yep.
So speaking of good and viable phones, we got notification this week that you guys know who Nothing is, right?
Yeah, and that story actually updated too, not so fast.
Yeah. So Nothing. It was reported earlier this week that Nothing was shutting down, but
Operations in 12 markets is what they were doing, but not the U.S.
right.
However, has since been updated. Nothing co-founder Akis and I can't say his name. Says what we're doing is reorganizing our teams to prepare for our,
Evangeldis, I
yeah,
think.
even okay, whatever.
Easy for me to say.
Yeah. What we are doing is reorganizing our teams to prepare for our next phase of growth. We are introducing dedicated business units, including an AI native business unit, and consolidating individual countries into regional hubs. So basically, they're just, instead of having an individual division for each country, they're going to have like a regional division, which actually kind of makes sense.
If this is actually true,
Right.
all right, and it's not just some sort of a PR spin to keep them out of the news while they get ready to do all this stuff, right?
True.
It would make sense. All right, we're not shutting down. We're just reorganizing. All right, we're still going to be selling to the countries that we're selling in. We're just doing it differently.
Yep. And it's like we talked briefly about it last week about the fact that what is left in the Android world, and there was an article that says only Samsung and Google is left, and I'm like, no, wait a minute, you got nothing, you've got all these other little companies, Oppo's still going around, there's more than that, but if you're looking at it from a pure U.S. standpoint, possibly true. A lot of these companies, I would count nothing along these, are not really bringing out a true, hero devices. That are top tier. These are more mid tier to low tier.
Yeah.
So I mean, the top tier ones are Google and Samsung. So
sure.
Nothing is.
Well, you've got right. You've got nothing. You've got Oppo. You've got Motorola. Right.
Yep.
You've got LG. Right. I believe they're still in the
LG's not
biz.
making phones anymore.
They're not making phones. I thought they were still around.
No, they haven't made phones in years now.
Well, geez.
Yes.
All right. You've got Google. All right. But still, the point that I'm making is there is choice out there.
There is
choice out there.
But a little bit less
phone. You want a high end phone? You're going to go, Samsung, right?
If you want Android, yeah, or Google,
right? For a high end phone. Google makes some good mid range and budget phones as well.
Yep.
So, Brandon, you were going to say something?
Yeah, I was going to say it's a little sad because it's kind of like we can't keep our enthusiast brands.
Right.
In the very beginning, we had the Nexus devices, which
Yep.
became Pixel.
Which are the Pixels.
Exactly, and then OnePlus came along with some really compelling, fantastic phones, and then they kind of went mainstream, and then we got nothing, and then now OnePlus is reducing, and nothing is reducing, and it's like, we're just gonna be left with Samsung and like Motorola and Pixels. It's less competition, less fun.
Very, very true. I was very sad to see OnePlus go. The OnePlus Open is an absolutely awesome phone.
Mm-hmm.
All right. I carried it around for almost a full year. And before relegating it to a completely a backup device. So it's an awesome device. It really is wonderful.
I mean, technically, you have Kyocera as well, but they're generally building the phones that are like for construction workers.
Right. Right. They're rugged phones.
Yes.
They're rugged. So.
And they're not going to be highly performing because those guys don't really care.
Nope.
They just want a phone that they can use for work, and it's not going to die every time they drop it.
True.
Yep.
True.
So.
Well. So hopefully we'll get some clarification on this, and we'll see what's going on and nothing. And we'll keep an eye out for them and see what happens over the next few months, and we'll see. But that is our mobile segment for the week, and I'm going to move us to our Windows and Linux segment, but I'm going to do that right after this brief message. Hi, this is Christopher Spera from iTechGear.org. I wanted to talk with you today about becoming a contributing donor to our site. iTechGear.org and our weekly podcast, the iTechGear Weekly, has been around for over 15 years, and the show is entering its 6th season in September of 2026. I've never actively asked for any kind of donations to the site. It's always been about me providing value to you. And everyone working with the site and the show is having a great time providing you with some of the best free content available from time-tested OG product reviewers, testers, site founders, and professional writers and editors on the internet. I truly believe our crew has some of the best and most qualified commentators on the internet today. However, times are really tough. And since the COVID-19 pandemic of 2020 to 2023, it's become increasingly difficult for small independent sites like iTechGear.org to stay afloat. I normally do this with a portion of my day job salary, but with the IT market so tight, it's sometimes difficult for many to make normal household ends meet, let alone fund a site and a podcast on their own. If you find any of our content on iTechGear.org or from the iTechGear Weekly of any value, I would genuinely appreciate it if you could make a donation of any amount to our efforts. All donations will go to site maintenance and hosting and to podcast hosting and everything iTechGear related. Donations can be made to my PayPal account at chris@iTechGear.org. Make a donation, and we'll immediately thank you on the next iTechGear Weekly episode and voice our gratitude. Thank you for your time and consideration. Now, let's get back to the latest iTechGear Weekly episode. And welcome back to the iTechGear Weekly episode number 178, Return to the Glass Hole. And I want to go ahead and I want to get us into our Windows and Linux segment for the week. We've got some interesting stuff. Both of these I find highly troubling, but you know that's just me. This first one hopefully isn't too big of a deal. Larry, you were saying that it wasn't all that big of a deal. The legacy Hive points to a troubling future.
Yeah, I think something even more troubling. It's kind of a side story here, and I won't bring it up quite yet. But as far as this, in the latest escalation of a feud that's been going on, evidently with Microsoft and a security researcher by the name of Nightmare Eclipse, who has recently told us about the legacy Hive zero-day vulnerability that's came up shortly after a major Patch Tuesday update.
Always after
So
a Patch Tuesday
here's my
update.
big question. It has nothing to do with that. How does one weekly patch from Microsoft, of course, I'm an Apple guy now, how does it include 570 security fixes? That's in itself freaking unbelievable.
Well,
how do you have 570 screw ups in just 1 week?
Well,
I don't get that.
How and why? Well, it's not. How do you have them in just 1 week? Why in the world?
But then they fix
is
them with
570, near 600 problems and bugs getting through your testing process.
Right.
How?
But didn't they have one of these last Tuesday? What did it fix?
Oh,
another
Lord.
482? I don't.
Something like that. You know,
oh my God.
Last Patch Tuesday. Yeah.
But anyway, on Patch Day or right after, this security guy named Nightmare Eclipse.
Yep.
He details this new security exploit for Windows, and evidently he has a pattern of releasing the exploits to the public without going through Microsoft's normal channels of disclosure. But you know what? Maybe I don't blame him here, because what's Microsoft going to do? Sweep it under the rug? If
and I
they
think
can.
that's the biggest concern here. You know, I've said this many times, but it is very, very true. Microsoft writes the software that runs the businesses that run the world.
Powers the world.
All right. They should be held to a much higher standard than they are being held to. Why in the world would any company want to run a operating system where they're regularly updating 500, 500 different security vulnerabilities in their operating systems every month? And then and what's worse is those patches break other things.
I'll say this again. I've said it before. Today, we do not have the same Microsoft that I grew up with.
No.
I mean, I personally worked out there. I mean, I was on site working from months at a time between 95, obviously,
Yep.
and 2000.
Bring
5, 6
Sanofsky back.
years. I
Bring
mean,
him
it was
back.
not this that those people cared about the people like you and I. They
Yep.
really did. I
I
don't
know
think
they
that
did.
is the case today. I just
No,
don't.
no,
All they care about is how can we get them to use the next Copilot or whatever.
how can we get them to subscribe to this service, that service, the
Subscribe
other
to this one
service?
and subscribe to that one.
Yeah.
How
And I
can we
think
allow?
they've lost their way, is what I still believe.
Yeah, it's reason 1055 why I use a Mac.
Thank you very much.
No, bring Sanofsky back. I mean, I know that he was a big problem with Windows
Yeah.
3.1, but I'm, and Windows 2000, but I mean, damn it, at least he had a handle on what was going on. You know, when he talked, he was the E.F. Hutton at Microsoft. When he talked, people listened and they got stuff done.
But
This would
honestly,
never have happened under his watch.
and I'm not disclosing anything private here, but I mean, we were in meetings out there when stuff was plastered and ideas all over the wall when we're trying to build the store and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
And they were screaming, "We can't do this because it'll piss off our users." Now it's let's do it because I know it'll piss them off. You know,
Well,
it's just
now it's let's do this, and I don't care if it pisses them off because it's going to make us money.
right. It's
So
just, I mean, this researcher is also accusing Microsoft. Maybe there's some bad blood here. He is accusing Microsoft of refusing to pay for disclosures in the past, and I don't know. This is probably all just. That's why I
compensating
think
him
this
for
is a
actually doing the
special.
bug hunting and presenting them with
Right.
all of the data and the findings, et cetera, et cetera. Yeah, no. If he's going to go ahead and find, one of the 570 or so, why shouldn't he get compensated?
Right.
It's something that they missed.
Yep.
I don't understand why Microsoft is allowing this to happen. All right. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
We'll see what happens, but yeah. This next thing though is a bit of a problem as well. And I saw this and I was just like, oh my God.
Wasn't this fun to read when it first came out? Paul,
This one really irked the daylights out of me.
Yeah.
All right, so Microsoft has asked LG to stop pushing McAfee ads to Windows 11 users. Now that seems a bit innocuous and a little bit less revealing. But Joel, what's going on here?
So apparently, if you have an LG monitor, Microsoft has they're asking LG to put an end to this. But apparently, LG's popping up ads on the LG monitors for McAfee, among other things.
Right. There is a piece of software that's being installed with Windows Update, and the thing is that you're not notified that this LG setup or LG
monitor
install is being placed on your computer, and if the monitor isn't plugged in, you don't have this problem.
Right.
But the moment that you plug the monitor in and you start using the monitor, there's a nice little pop-up that shoots up that will go ahead and display ads on that one monitor, that LG monitor, and a lot of them were purchased. A lot of those ads were purchased by McAfee.
but they look like Windows ads. That's the deal.
Well, yeah, but Microsoft enabled LG to actually install this as part of a Windows update, driver update for the monitor. And so somebody had to review that, and somebody over at Microsoft said, "Yeah, that's okay." And then what's even worse is that it's why do I need to see ads? I've purchased your monitor. All right. You've made your money. Why are you trying to go ahead then and recoup more costs by selling ad space and invading my productivity and my computing experience by sticking a advertisement that that I don't want.
Yeah.
I think you might want to start getting ready to see a little bit of that from Cupertino in the future.
I hope not, because I was going to say that's reason 1056 why I use a Mac.
Thank you.
I'm I'm reviewing a Lenovo laptop for makeuseof.com where I write, and I got this Lenovo laptop. It's a nice laptop. It's like $2,600, and I haven't used Windows in a long time, but I get ads on that thing on a regular basis for antivirus, for cloud backup. It's
Yeah.
like dude, I would have paid $2,600 for this, and isn't that enough? I'm being served
Yeah.
ads. They're like native ads in the taskbar, like they look like native Windows pop-ups. It's just insane.
Right,
Yep.
right. At some point, you would suspect that if you're buying a high-end piece of equipment, all right. Now, the monitor in question here, can cost anywhere between $1,000 to $1,600 or so. All right. What really irks me is that you've bought the high-end computer, you've bought the high-end monitor, so you've spent somewhere in the neighborhood of around $5,000 on this hardware, and you're still getting served with ads.
Crazy.
What the hell, Microsoft? How in the world is somebody not, barged into and gone postal on the Microsoft campus? Stop it with the ads. Why haven't we heard about anybody, canceling a Microsoft account, a corporate purchasing account, or kicking it off the preferred vendor list because they're doing stuff like this?
It's not going to happen.
And flooding the enterprise with all of this gratuitous content that nobody wants to see. That's interrupting them. I can tell you the moment that it interrupts a board meeting because because here I am laying out a case for this, that, or the other thing, and all of a sudden here's this McAfee ad that pops up. What the hell?
Tell us about something more fun.
Well, there isn't anything else more fun because that's the end of the Windows and Linux segment.
That's what I meant.
But damn, I mean, come on. All right. So I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna move us into our tip of the week segment. Before we actually get to this week's tip, I want to remind everybody that iTechGear was founded with the intent of making technology easier for everyone to use and understand. This team specifically has dedicated their writing careers to that specific purpose. So every week, the iTechGear Weekly is going to feature a new computing tip authored by one of our experienced editors. And if you've got questions, requests, suggestions, comments, or yay, dare I say, ideas, you can send all of that over to tips@itechgear.org. And if we use your bit or your suggestion on the air, we're going to go ahead and give you your 15 seconds worth of fame. This week, I've got another Mac tip. And it's all about keeping your desktop clean automatically. If you have a desktop that tends to collect files like a junk drawer, you're going to want to listen up. You can use something called stacks to bring instant order to that specific chaos. You can right-click on the desktop and select Use Stacks, and then files will automatically group into nice, neat piles based on type, whether they're documents or images or PDFs, whatever. All right. You can then click on a stack to expand it and then click again to collapse it. It's a simple way to keep like things together and organized without constant manual effort. You can also group stacks by date, which is useful if you're working on a time-based project. You can then go ahead and have everything set up nice and easy. A clean desktop just isn't about aesthetics. It reduces visual noise and helps you focus. When everything is scattered, your brain has to work harder to organize things and get everything into a way that is organized and allows you to think clearly. Stacks can handle all of that organization for you automatically, so you can concentrate on what actually matters, which is getting your work done.
And for what it's worth, I never used to like stacks, and it's kind of like a scotch. You really have to acquire a taste for it.
Sure.
Once you use it for a little bit, you'll probably say, why didn't I do this
You're going to
before?
wonder why you didn't
It
use this
does make
previously.
sense. It doesn't look right. It's counter my brain, but it works.
Yeah. Yeah, and if you're using virtual desktops like we talked about last week or the week before, and you set up, you can have different stacks about for different things about a specific project or whatever. You can segregate everything and organize everything nice and neatly. So your virtual desktops work well with this as well. So this is really cool.
Good.
So stacks, if you aren't using them, think about it on your Mac. And that is this week's tip of the week. I'm going to go ahead and move us to our pick of the week segment. And before we get to this week's actual pick, I want to just take a moment to remind everybody that our show picks are typically hardware, software, and other items of interest that we have individually purchased and that we actually use and that we like enough that we want to recommend them to you, our growing listener base. These are not paid advertisements or items that we have any kind of affiliated marketing relationship with. If they were, the editorial policy over at iTechGear.org indicates that we have to go ahead and let you guys know about that up front. These are just sincerely things that we want to go ahead and bring to you at the end of each show. Why, guys?
Because we like
They
you.
like you.
There you go. Yeah. This week, I've got the pick. And so I've been playing a lot with my Linux computer recently, and I came up to and found a really kind of cool security suite for Linux called Bastion Guard. All right. It is a 5-piece security suite. It's got support for endpoint protection, which will go ahead and do your antivirus and your malware, ransomware defense, and provides you with inspectable security controls. It provides it's got a backup facility which will actually do system snapshots and recovery with rsync or BTRFS. You can schedule backups and apply retention policies and create something for that will allow you to create a bootable recovery tool. It's got a secured connection piece or a VPN, so you can go ahead and secure your network and with applications aware firewalling, WireGuard connectivity. It's got DNS protection and an NFTable based kill switch. This is it also has a way to recover data. So it's got advanced data recovery for disks and images with file system analysis, file carving, device diagnostics, support for major Linux file systems, as well as a web UI server, which is a PHP-based web UI, which covers the main sections available in the Bastion Guard GTK desktop source, and adds server-side management for configurations, first-run wizards, and preventive diagnostics. It is available at bastionguard.eu and is priced right. Free.
Good one.
Good price.
So, and it's like I said, it's got a nice dashboard and everything. I was actually very impressed with this. So, for if it's free, you know me, if it's free, it's for me. And this is a nice little thing. It'll actually give you a way to go ahead and build this into a trusted repository that you can use, and it'll constantly your when you go and you get updates for your operating system, it'll go and check for that as well. So, Bastion Guard for Linux, not too bad.
Yay.
Yeah, and that, kids, is really the show for the week. This has been the iTechGear Weekly, episode number 178, Return of the Glass Hole, recorded live Sunday, July 26th, 2026, live from iTechGear Central. Brandon, I want to really thank you for being a part of the show this week. We've really had a good time with you, and we'd love to have you back.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. This was awesome. Love talking tech with you guys. Really appreciate it.
Absolutely. So we'll be reaching out to you again hopefully, and maybe we can get you on in the near future. How's that sound?
Definitely. Yeah, let's talk about that. That'd be awesome.
That'd be awesome. All right. So for the missing Mr. Chris Gavula, Brother Joe McLaughlin, and Dr. Mr. Larry McJunkin, this is Christopher Spera saying, hey, we will see you next time.